Hey everyone, yes I am back with another video. I know it's been a long time. I just checked and I couldn't believe that it's been almost a year. I apologize for that. But I have promised some people another video before the end of this year. So here it is. So last video was on Civilization 4 and why it was one of my favorite games of all time. Obviously after Civilization 4, they're going to release Civilization 5. And they're actually about to release Civilization 7 next year. So I may do a video on Civilization 6 too. But Civilization 5 came out. As I said in my last video, Civilization 4 was probably one of my favorite games, but also the first game that I really got into like the strategy and kind of followed the best way to play and read guides and things like that. So it was very controversial when it came out in all these forums and all these places where I was reading about them. So that's because there was quite a few changes. So I'm going to talk about just some of the changes, show you some of the gameplay, and talk about how much I like it. I will, as I load into a game here, I'll just tell you that I do have a few mods installed, so it will not be the base game. Like this Civ is not in the base game. So, like Civ 4, you have a civilization. So in this case, I'm playing as Wales. They have a unique trait. So in Civilization 4, they had two different traits which were shared between different leaders. So you might have creative and financial. Here, every civilization has one trait and it's unique to them. So this trait is on the discovery of animal husbandry, which is a tech. Your sheep tiles yield +1 food and +1 gold. And all units receive a 10% combat bonus. And then you have two unique either units or buildings or whatever. So in Civ 4, it was a unit and a building. In this case, it can be one of each. It can be two units. I don't think there's any Civ that has two unique buildings. So you can see that we have a unique building here, a unit that replaces the crossbowman, and here you have I've never played as Wales, so I can't tell you this here, but it looks like instead of a fort that you can build, it's a building for that. So first thing you might notice is what has changed is they went away from the grid-based system and they played with hexes, which was what was one of the most controversial things. It's not the only one, but the one that upset people the most. And they've gone forward and kept this system, as a lot of other games have at the time. No one really has gone back to a grid system. And it was very controversial at the time. People did not like that. People actually refused to play this game. But other than that, a lot of the gameplay is the same, just being tweaked. So, you know, you settle your first city. Okay, you can see you're working the space around it. And I'll show you some gameplay of another one later on, a late game. But you can see it's similar kind of type of system, right? So here I have a warrior, and I can move him 2 spaces at a time. Some have more than that, and some don't have penalties for movement. So got research as well, same as usual. You can see I always turn this on, and that's a little trick which you don't need to know, but if I did a series on it, I'd explain. So you see you want to grow quickly, and you're going to pick something to build. You normally go scout first, and you pick your research. Normally you go pottery first so you can get a shrine, because you want to found a religion. So religion is different in this game too. It's not based on getting to a tech first. You're actually trying to raise piety, so you've got this score here. You're trying to get faith, and when you get to a certain level, which in this case it's 23 on the speed that I'm playing, you can found a religion. So there's a few other different systems you can see up in the top left, which I'll just quickly talk through, and then I'll talk through the other reason why this was a controversial game. So the movement is the same. Crossing rivers and stuff will cause you to end your turn. I think the thing up here you can see is I'm 4 science per turn. I've got 3 gold per turn. This is trade routes, which is different in this game. This is happiness. So happiness is different too. In Civ 4, happiness was per city. And what I mean by that is if you had a cap of 6 happiness, that was every city could grow to size 6. In this, happiness is empire-wide. So I have 6 happiness at the moment. That means I can grow 6 more times before I go into the negative. And that's across the empire, so it's not per city. So I can't grow each city to size 6. I can only grow across to 6 more pop across my civilization. Alright, in the other game, we also used to turn Civ 4, we used to turn goody huts off. In this one, the norm is kind of to keep them on unless you're playing multiplayer. That's probably why you go scouts first, to kind of get as many of them as you can. So you can see I've grown, or Cardiff has grown, so I'm going to go and assign my pop. I want to work the food as possible, but also as much production so I can get things out quickly. Now the other two things that you might notice in the top left that have changed, there is a golden age meter, which is what this is. And when I get into a golden age, you can see the bonuses there. Extra gold, extra production, and extra culture. Which brings me to the second thing up there. There's actually a culture tech tree in this game too. So as well as the own tech tree, they call it policies, but it's basically you're picking policies which give you other bonuses. So this kind of changes the way that you will play depending on which policy you go. You can see there are only 4 that are available, and when I get to 25 culture, I can actually pick one of these to open. So I might go piety, I might go liberty. They all have their own bonuses, and then when you complete this policy tree, you'll actually get a bonus at the bottom too. So each one gives something different, and then these other ones open up later on as the game goes. And then later on, at the very end of the game, you actually get an ideology, which is down here, and you can pick from different ideologies, which I can't show yet. So I'm just going to get this, and my upgrade was that it upgraded to a spearman. And I'll just go for a few more turns, and then I'll show you a game I've been playing recently. So this is a scout who has 2 movement too, but it doesn't suffer the penalties of going through a forest or over a river like this. So if I go over a river here, that ends my turn, even though I have 2 movement points, whereas that won't for the scout. So normally you probably go at least 2 scouts, particularly on the size map that I'm playing. So it will be similar in terms of what you want to improve. So when I get a worker, which would be soon, I would improve the food tiles. I'd also improve my luxuries, which you can see here. I have 3 copies of lapis lazuli. I also have cocoa here. They're my luxuries. They would give me 4 happiness, so they would help me grow further. And I'd keep going from that. As whales, I really would have wanted sheep inside my city, but I don't at the moment, so I'd be looking for that to settle some as we go. So barbarians, same or similar, I should say, not same as in Civ 4, but they can now have, instead of having Civ, or should I say cities, barb cities, which is an option, now you have camps which will continually spawn barbs if I don't clear it. So the other thing that's changed, and I'll just show you too, is combat in 2 different ways. One of them is the one that I was talking about that was still very controversial. So I hope I talked about it in my Civ 4 video, but you can actually make huge stacks of units where they would all stand on the same tile. So you can have 20, you can have 100 units standing on the same tile. So you'd make what was called, stacks of doom, because they could all move at the same pace on the same tile towards the city, and there was nothing you could do about it unless you had a similar stack. In this game, you cannot put 2 units on the same tile. So that was the other really controversial thing about Civ 5, and why a lot of people refused to play it. The hex thing was one thing, not being able to stack units was another. In Civ 4, also when you attacked, it resolved the battle like immediately. So if I attacked this brute, this barbarian brute, it would go back and forth until one of us was killed. In this case, it's actually, you can see the bottom left there, it tells me, or it's predicting what's going to happen. It's not going to tell me what's going to happen, but that's what they anticipate. It's actually not going to end the battle, so to say, is that it will take me several turns to be able to kill it, which is different from the other game in Civ 4. Civ 4, that would resolve it immediately. So you can see I took 24 health, he took 29 health. So my health has gone down here. You can see 76 hit points. I also gained a bit of experience, I now have 5 out of 10 experience to leveling up to be able to pick a new perk. And that's how it would go. So I will probably play maybe just one more turn. The other thing is that they've now got zone of control. So you can see when I moved my spearman who had 2 movement points, because it was in the zone of control of this barbarian brute, I lost my movement when I went there. It only allows me to move the 1 tile. So that was also another thing that they changed. Okay, there's probably lots of other things that I'm going to forget that they changed, but I'm just going through the main things and the ones I can think of at the top of my head. Remember, I also said that I'm playing with a mod installed, so some of these luxuries are not base in terms of the game, just like this civilization is also not in the base game.
Shall the clay say to him that fashioneth it?
Alright, so similar thing is that, you know, you get a voice line when you discover a tech. The other thing, if I happen to meet a Civ, and I should have chosen a smaller map size to be able to do that, is that they're actually now animated, and so you can see them moving and talking. Because it's a mod, they won't all do that for this anyway. Because I'm Wales, I'd probably go animal husbandry, but I don't have any sheep, so I'm not sure, but I'd still probably go that because it will reveal horses for me on the map, and will also get me towards trapping, which I want because I have 2 deer, 2 bison inside my city, or I will. So probably the last thing I'm going to talk about before I show you a late game is that in Civ 4 you had the initial ring, and then when your civilization reached a certain cultural threshold, it would expand to the next ring and it would make a cross. In Civ 5 it actually expands out 3 times, so it can actually expand all the way out to your 3rd tile, so it can make a ring around the 3rd tile, so it can actually be quite big. But it doesn't grow when your culture doesn't reach a point. It doesn't just grow immediately to that 2nd ring. As you can see from this screen, it's going to grow in 5 turns, but it will pick one of these 2 spots. So it will decide between these 2 spots. And sometimes, because these are flat land, they're fine, but like a hill will probably grow later too. So yeah, that's a big change in terms of this from Civ 4 too. One other thing, but I'll probably talk about when we get to late game. So we also have the culture here, which, as I said, works a little bit differently than that. And there's also things you can discover which are called great works. So you can have a great work of writing, a great work of art, and a great work of music, and they can get put in to generate tourism, which is the last thing up here that I haven't talked about. So you can actually generate tourism to get a culture victory, which there was culture victory in Civ 4, but this works differently. You then exert your influence over other civilizations. There's also this screen here in diplomacy when I discover someone else, which I'll just show you in the game I've been playing at the moment. And there's also World Congress when you've discovered everyone and the printing press tech has been researched. That World Congress comes up and you can propose and vote on different things depending on how many turns you're playing, every 25 turns or whatever it might be. All right, so I'm just going to put a cut in here because I'm going to show you a game I've been playing recently. Okay, so this is a game I've been playing not for a couple of weeks now, but I was playing it recently. So I'm playing as the Shoshone, and these are the benefits or the unique traits that I have. So I have 2 units here. One is a Pathfinder, one is a Comanche Rider, and this is my unique trait, which was that when I start a founding city, when I found it, I get 4 additional tiles. So I get more than just that original ring. I get 4 additional tiles, and I get a combat bonus when I fight inside my own territory. And this is actually a vanilla or a base Civ that came not with the mod. So the reason why I put a cut in is because it took a long time or a while to load, because this is a very late game. So you can see the map looks very different now that it's been mostly filled in with improvements and my cities. I kind of stopped playing this game, although I might play it out, but I was just so far ahead that I kind of stopped. So you can see here, here's the scores of each of the civs. You can see my score is a fair bit above the next best. So yeah, looks similar too. So roads like they were, and railways like they were in Civ 4, except now they actually give you a production bonus to the city when you make a railroad, instead of changing your mine by 1 yield. The other thing that has changed in this game is that great people, instead of just being either creating like an academy or a military building inside your city, can actually be settled to create, like in this case, I've also made an academy, but instead of giving me the 50% bonus like it did in Civ 4, it actually gives me this tile yield, and it's been improved a bit because of the policies I picked, because I went through rationalism here, and it gives me at the end it gives me, or one of them gives me, there we go, +4 for every academy. So this yield at the moment is actually, you can see on the bottom right, 2 food, 16 science, and 2 culture. You also notice some of the buildings and the units I've got at the moment because it's late game. One cool thing about Civ 5 is that it actually kind of shows you the city and some of the buildings that are in it if you zoom in. And if I had a better computer, this would probably look a bit better. But so for example, when you're playing, and this is particularly useful when you play multiplayer, or if you play multiplayer, is that you can actually look and see if someone's constructing a wonder, because it will show you the wonder being constructed. Like you can see I've got the Cristo Redondo over here, which I built, the Oracle, which is here. So it actually shows you, I'm sure there's a few more here, actually shows you the buildings too, and the wonders, so you can actually see them on the map. Apart from that, the only other thing I think I didn't show you is that there's espionage in this game too. So there were spies before in Civ 4, but they worked very differently. Here you can send them to different civilizations, and you can either be a diplomat or a spy. I've set mine up as a spy, but because I'm ahead, I have no text to steal, but you can steal the technology from another civilization. The other thing that also changed, which I haven't talked about in this game yet, is that there were city-states. So you can see there's a city-state here, and there's a city-state here. So you can see this one's Monaco, and each city-state is a certain type, and each type has a certain bonus. So Monaco is a cultural city-state. So when I'm allied with them, they will give me culture. They'll also give me their resources if I'm an ally. You can also just be, I think it's called friendly, like here. This one I'm friends with, so it gives me some bonuses, but not all of them. So you can see its ally is actually Cuba here. They'll also give you quests, which will give you progress towards becoming friends or allies if you complete the quest. And there's a whole system around that too, but I won't get into that now. So the reason why, and this is probably what I'll finish on, is that when we talk about the differences, is that combat changes then, because you can't have these big stacks where inside the stack you would have your like war machines, so you catapults and trebuchets and things like that, your artillery, cannons. Right now you have to position, which was, I guess, was the idea for the change, is that it became a bit more strategic. So you wouldn't put like your artillery in the front line, because then they could be easily destroyed. Because if I click on my rocket artillery here, you can see its range strength is 60, but its strength is only 45. So if it gets attacked, its strength is not very high. It will get destroyed quite easily, but its ranged attack is good, and I can shoot from far away. So in this case, rocket artillery actually has a 3-tile range. So you can see I can actually shoot up to 3 tiles away, whereas other units have to be next to be able to attack. Okay, I'm not at war with them, so I can't do that. But it kind of changed. You can also see I've got a great general here who gives bonuses by being around, but also I could settle them to make its unique building, which would be a citadel, which gives bonuses for my defense, but also gives a penalty a health penalty if their units are next to it. I think the other thing, not that it matters too, is that when you capture a city, you can either annex them, puppet them now, which means that you have less of a happiness penalty by occupying them, and raising them like you could before, which is burned into the ground, rather than just either capturing or raising them in the other game, in Civ 4. So in the end, I can tell you from personal experience, I was influenced by what I read, and at the start I did not play Civilization 5 and I did not get it straight away because I was reading what was in the forums of the Civ 4 fanatics and stuff, which I was following, and they were not fans of the game for the reasons I've talked about. But overall, I'm glad that eventually I tried it because I have enjoyed playing it almost as much. It is a different game, and that's, I think, a good thing. But it is also still a very good game too, and I've played it a very long time. And yes, the mods have changed it to make it a little bit more interesting, but it's still a long time since it came out, and I'm still playing it every now and then. I'll play a game. So yeah, it's still a very enjoyable game and a very good game. So yeah, is it better than Civ 4? I think it's a very hard decision to say. I think it's just different, and I think that's a good thing, generally. And I think they got it right in most aspects. Civ 6 kept a lot of things, which maybe I'll do a video on too. But they also changed some things too, as they always do. And then Civ 7, they've released a lot of things about what's going on with Civ 7. Again, not a lot of them have been positively received, but again, we'll wait and see when we actually get the finished product. So there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Civ 5, again, still one of my favorite games. Love the series. Love playing these games. Civ 4 and 5 in particular. No spoiler about Civ 6, but those two I've played quite a lot. And I'll probably play Civ 5 more than Civ 4 these days if I wanted to play a Civ game. So thank you all for watching again. Hopefully I won't make you wait another year before a video. Hope you're all well. See you next time.